So you're mostly a PvE player, and after the recent changes to the Darkzones, you want to start spending some more time inside the Darkzones, farming for exotic components or the targeted loot which now comes uncontaminated, or for whatever reason you just want to enter the Darkzones and see what that part of the game is all about. But you have no idea how to play inside the Darkzones, what builds you should farm, or how to survive in general. Well, I've been where you are. I used to be only a PvE player, however, the last 2 to 3 weeks I've been spending a few hours inside the Darkzones almost daily. Before that I knew nothing about PvP, I was not scared of the Darkzones, but they were a part of the game that really didn't interest me, so I stayed out of there. I mean, I've spent some time inside the Darkzones in the past, but that was purely so I could get some Darkzone exclusive drops. So that explains these videos over here, which are super old and at the start of my channel, so I don't recommend you to go and watch them. They're outdated, and oh my god, my editing skills as well as my commentary skills were awful. So after spending quite a lot of hours in the Darkzones the last couple of weeks, I decided that it was time to make an updated guide for the Darkzone when it comes to PvE players. In this video we will go over the main reasons DZ is worth it in my opinion, even for PvE players, the mindset for entering the Darkzones. You'll understand what I mean when we get there. I will share with you a couple of fundamental tips that can help you a lot, and last but not least, I will have some build recommendations for you. Keep in mind that this is a video by a mostly PvE player, and that when I enter the Darkzone, I'm not thinking, how can I go on a manhunt, but more like, okay, I want to farm peacefully, quietly, but in case something goes wrong, I want to have a build and I want to have a couple of tips and tricks that can help me win the encounter with rogue agents. So if you're looking for a purely PvP perspective, how to be a PvP guide or anything like that, this is not the video for you. Timestamps can be found in the description, so you can jump to the point of the video that interests you the most. So let's start with the reasons a PvE player has to go into the Darkzone. Starting off with the exotic components, Darkzone landmarks have the highest chance of dropping exotic components at an impressive 25% drop chance. That's 2.5 times more than control points level 4 have. Exotic components are becoming the most valuable resource in the entire game after the introduction of the expertise system, and sooner or later, if you are one of those players who want to have everything maxed out, you will need a bunch of them. A weapon requires 75 exotic components to reach expertise rank 21, a gear piece requires 35, and a skill requires also 75 exotic components. So if you want to have just one build maxed out, you will need 75 times 4 equals 300 exotic components, and that's just for your weapons and your skills. Keep in mind here that I don't count the pistol because I don't want to make you quit the game. Now let's calculate the gear. 35 times 6 for your gear equals 210 exotic components, making an impressive requirement of 510 exotic components in total in order to have an entire build without including the pistol maxed out at level 21 expertise. Fuck, that's a lot. So yeah, you will need a shit ton of exotic components, and the Darkzones have the highest chances of dropping them. Now you need to understand here that the exotic components do not drop as a landmark reward, but they drop from the landmark caches. Those caches seem to be, to my knowledge, which I'm not 100% sure because this is what other players have told me, those caches reset every 30 minutes. And sadly, if a player gets to a landmark sooner than you and opens that cache, sadly when you get to that landmark you will find that cache being opened. There is a good argument that, doing control points, even with just the 10% chance of dropping exotic components, is the better way to farm for those exotic components, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the fact is that the highest drop rate chance is in the DZ. That's what I'm saying here. I'm not suggesting that the best way to farm for those exotic components is necessarily the Darkzone. I'm just saying the drop rates are by far the best inside the DZ. Moving on to reason number 2. Darkzone targeted loot does not need to be extracted. It goes right into your inventory, so you don't have to worry about rogues killing you and stealing it. Obviously, non-targeted loot still drops as contaminated and you will need to extract it. So for example, if you're looking for the Dark Winter SMG, right, which is a DZ exclusive, and let's say Darkzone East has targeted loot SMGs, you can go in there and farm till you find your Dark Winter without having to worry about other players killing you and stealing your valuable Dark Winter. Even if they kill you and even if you have it on you, they will not take it simply because it goes right away into your inventory. I don't know about you, but it seems to be like the developers are trying to convince PvE players to enter the Darkzones again. Now I have more reasons as to why I think people should give Darkzone a chance, but all of them are subjective. Things like, Darkzone actually looks fucking brilliant, and I think that you're missing out on a huge part of the game if you don't enter it, but those are all subjective reasons, so I will not go into them since they won't apply to all of you necessarily. Now moving on to the second part of the video, having the right mindset when you enter the Darkzone is very, very important. You need to understand and accept that you will die. Teams of 3 and 4 players will gank you and will kill you, even though you weren't bothering anyone, even though you were just minding your own business. They don't care. That's what they find fun, and that's what they will keep doing no matter how many posts you write on Facebook and on Reddit. They will keep on killing you. Darkzones are toxic, and whether you like it or not, toxicity is a part of the Darkzones. It's actually what made Division 1 so popular in a sense. The whole idea of having a place inside the map where everything goes, there are no rules. You can go 3, 4 versus 1. You can betray your random friend that you just met 30 minutes ago and kill him as soon as he tells you that he got an exotic to drop for him. You can steal other players' stuff. You have your open mic and you can be, a little dick to others. This is what made Division 1 so popular. And in today's gaming, where old chat and voice chat are being taken out of games because they're considered toxic, and games like FPS, for example, the newest Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 release without a kill-death ratio stat, so people don't feel like shit just because they're noobs and they're worse than others. Darkzones might be the last place in the gaming universe where nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. Not the players, definitely not the developers. Obviously, there are some bad apples that take things too far, but talking shit to the rogue you just killed is always nice. The Darkzones are not about being fair to one another or equality between builds. Big fish eat small fish pretty much. As soon as I adopted the mindset that this is not a fair place and everything goes, I stopped caring about dying and started having fun. Do you have any idea how fun it is to kill a poor little noob that did absolutely nothing wrong to you? He was just sitting behind cover, so you thought that this is your chance to kill him. You killed him, you didn't want his loot, so you deconstructed it, and then just a couple of minutes later running up to him, but this time he is with his 2 friends and they're going rogue, and now they're kicking your ass for the next 15-20 minutes, while at the same time they're talking shit and dancing your corpse. Like, some might say I was a dick so I deserved it, some might say this is the game, but at the end of the day, because I didn't care too much and I was just in there to play and have fun, I was actually laughing my ass off because yeah, I deserved it. It was karma. If you can't get over the fact that you will die, don't even bother entering the Darkzones. Now let's talk about what tips I discovered the last few weeks that I've been playing daily. Awareness is very important. I figured out that having a pulse that I can use every 15-20 seconds really helps with keeping your sanity and not being paranoid all the time. You will be aware of any players close to you, and more importantly, you will be able to spot rogues before they're right next to you, so you have a chance to start running and escape. As I said, these are tips in order to survive, not necessarily be a good PvP player. Tip number 2, always keep an eye on the chat/kill feed. What I find out was that the PvP community, or better, the DZ community, is much smaller than the PvE community. Over the last few weeks, I've run into the same players again and again. If you see a familiar name, you most likely already know if he's the victim or the hunter. If the guy who just got to the landmark you were clearing is the guy that has been going rogue for the last couple of days, then you know that there are some high chances that he will actually try to take you down as soon as you turn your back on him. So try to remember names, or at least read the name. So if you keep on reading a name again because he keeps on killing people again, then the next time you see him, you'll think, oh yeah, I know that name from somewhere, so that's the rogue guy. Keeping an eye on the kill feed also tells you how close to you all that killing is taking place. If the rogues are 300 meters away, you don't have to panic. You still have some time to see, are they gonna come towards you, are they not, should I panic, should I not? You can chill out and wait to see what's gonna happen. However, if you see that somebody is killing people just 80 meters away from you, then you should start panicking because that guy probably is coming for you. Tip number 3, don't call for extractions all by yourself. Wait for someone else to do so, and then go to that extraction point and extract with him. That way, if a rogue comes, he can't focus all his fire on you. He will have to find a 1 versus 2 situation, which is not favorable to him, so he might not even go rogue. Obviously, there are some risks with that tactic. The guy who called the extraction might be looking for PvE players who want to extract, and as soon as he sees you, he's gonna go rogue and take you down. Or maybe 4 rogues come to the extraction point, and now you and your buddy are both dead. However, I found out that if you extract all by yourself, the possibility of a rogue coming is pretty much the same as if you extract with someone else. So taking a chance and extracting without someone else seems to give you the best chances of success. Tip number 4, for the love of God, don't chill behind cover while someone is standing right behind you. Actually, don't allow anyone to stay close to you. Keep on moving, keep on running, don't let him get behind you and just chill there, unless you're trying to bait him to go rogue so you can take down his ass. Because when I'm behind players and I just see them like standing there behind cover with their 800k armor, shooting at NPCs, popping armor kits while I'm right there, right next to them, doing nothing, just looking at them, even if I wasn't planning on going rogue, seeing them being so clueless makes me want to kill them. So that's tip number 4 for you. Stop doing that, please. Tip number 5, you should constantly open your map and check for red landmarks. It means that someone else is doing them. That gives you an idea of where people are, and you can predict their route so you can avoid them, or at least try to avoid them, or go and join them if you're looking for a buddy. Last tip here, if you find another agent doing landmarks and he doesn't bother you, send him an invite. You don't need to talk, you're just 2 guys who want to clear landmarks. Why not do that together? A lot of players are in there just to farm. Getting in a group with them will stop you from going paranoid when you clear the same landmarks, and it will also have a demoralizing effect on rogues who are coming to check to see if it's just you or if you have other people with you. As soon as they see that it's not just 1 versus 1, but it's a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3, they will not even bother going rogue and trying to take you down unless all 4 of you are complete noobs. Obviously, that doesn't apply to rogue groups. If there is a group with 4 people in it and they're looking for players to kill, then they will obviously go rogue no matter how many people you have in your group. Now, it's time to talk about builds, the final part of this video. In Division 1, solo players could get a 6-piece classified nomad or a 6-piece classified striker with 9k stamina and face 2, maybe even 3 enemy players and have a good chance of surviving, especially if the solo player knew what he was doing. Not only the classified gear sets were so powerful that you could survive for much longer than you can in Division 2, the skills and health kits could be used instantly, making them a reliable source of healing. Division 2 doesn't have any of those things. Builds do not allow for such survivability. Healing skills are not even close to being as useful as they were in Division 1, and armor kits require you to stay still, which most of the times will get you killed. There isn't one build that can be considered the best PvP builds. You could run a Heartbreaker build, as long as you don't meet anyone with pulse resistant, you should be fine in most situations. However, when that pulse resistant guy comes, you're gonna die. You could be running a pulse resistant build, and then a status effect guy appears with his bleeds, and boom, you're dead. What I'm trying to say here is that there isn't a single build in Division 2 that can make you feel invincible. When I was running around solo in Division 1 with my Nomad build, I knew I could face any sort of enemy build and have a chance of winning. In Division 2, it seems like a matter of time until someone with a counter build shows up. Division 2 wasn't designed in a way to have solo players dominating DZ servers. So obviously, you're not gonna be able to do that. So with all that being said, let's assume you are a mostly PvE player, solo, obviously, and you want to enter the Darkzone. What build should you go for? Here are my suggestions and the builds that I mostly use myself. The first build, because I'm going to show you two builds in this video. The first build is a very basic Heartbreaker, including the backpack and the chest piece with gloves and holster, full blue core attributes, the Catharsis mask, because it will improve both our damage but also our survivability by dropping down the healing cloud when we get 30 stacks on it, which can be very helpful in very close situations where you're about to die, he's about to die, the enemy's about to die. You drop down your cloud, you end up receiving that little extra healing that you need, that extra survivability in order to take down your opponent. So Catharsis has saved me quite a lot of times. And then of course the fog sprayers for the 8% downside out of cover. The reason I'm going with a Heartbreaker is because you can use it with a fast shotgun like the rock and roll, and in case the enemy doesn't have pulse resistance, so it doesn't reduce your damage, what you can do with this is pretty much, if you use the shotgun at the beginning of the fight, you can out heal the damage the enemy is going to be doing to you. So pretty much if you keep on getting those stacks with the rock and roll and you keep getting that bonus armor, the guy who's shooting at you, he's not going to be taking down your normal armor, but your bonus armor, which means that your armor will remain full, or at least close to being maxed out, while his armor will be going down even slowly because at the end of the day, you're hitting him with something. As soon as he runs out of bullets, you change to your Carbine 7, which has the flatline on it, which amplifies the weapon with 2 to pulse enemies by 15%. And because the rock and roll gains stacks super fast, at this point, you also have around, 60-70 stacks at least on the Heartbreaker, and your damage is through the roof. If you know how to use that bonus ammo that you get from the Heartbreaker, you can win a lot of 1v1 situations that with any other build, at least that I've tried with, I haven't been able to win. With that being said, however, as I said previously on the video, in case there are 2 guys or 3 guys coming up to you, you're gonna die. Another very bad thing that can happen with your Heartbreaker is if the enemy engages with you when you have max stacks. So if you have already 100 stacks and the other guy starts shooting at you, you're not getting any armor even if you use your rock and roll because your stacks are already maxed out. So there's no more bonus armor for you to gain from getting more stacks. So if the other guy knows what he's doing, he's gonna wait for you to enter a landmark or whatever, get your stacks up, get that high bonus armor, wait for the NPC to take that down, and then he's gonna engage and kill you without having to worry about you regenerating a bunch of armor. This build comes with 1.8 million armor. It has almost 50% critical hit chance and 66% critical hit damage, which is because my rolls here, as you can see, are not really maxed out. There is room for improvement, obviously. A lot of people consider the Heartbreaker build to not be a good build. I honestly believe that it's a very fun build to run around, and I've been enjoying my time with it. It might not be good for taking down other players, it might not be good for using it as a rogue player, but if you're just running around wanting to clear landmarks, going with something like this, at least in my opinion, is very reliable and can keep you alive in a lot of situations. The skills is the pulse for the reason that I told you earlier on the video, because I wanna be able to see what's around me. And then the second skill is the defender drone, which can block out quite a lot of damage that can turn out to save your ass and be the reason you actually won the fight. Now moving on to the second build here. The second build is a pretty standard build, I guess. I'm guessing a lot of people are running around with this. Is pretty much 2 Valkyrie pieces for the 5% damage to armor, Contractor's Gloves for the 8% damage to armor, Fog Sprayers for the 8% damage targets out of cover, and then the Picker holster for the blue core attribute and the 15% weapon damage. On my chest piece I have the Unbreakable, which on PvP gives you 50% of that armor back. There we go, 50% of your armor instead of 95 or whatever it was. And on my backpack I have perfect adrenaline rush. Whenever you're within 10 meters of an enemy, gain 12% bonus armor for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. That, in case you have a lot of enemies around you, can turn out to be very helpful. It can give you a small amount of constant armor regeneration, because it's not really armor regeneration, but it's 12% bonus armor that the enemies at the end of the day will need to, break if they want to kill you. So it can be helpful. Another way to have this build is, instead of the Unbreakable chest, to go with Closer for the 20% amplified weapon damage to pulsed enemies, and changing the Pickerel's holster for a Fenris AB. For those of you wondering if Fenris AB holster is actually better than the Pickerel's holster, can I pulse enemies please? There we go, now he's pulsed. As you can see, I'm doing 339 with the Fenris AB, and then with the Pickerel's I'm doing 321. So yes, as long as the Pickerel's holster doesn't allow us to change its core attribute from blue to red, then a Fenris group AB will be better than the Pickerel's holster. This build over here has almost 50% critical hit chance and 115% critical hit damage. It doesn't have the survivability Heartbreaker has, obviously. However, I found this to be able to down enemies, to kill enemies much faster on PvP than the Heartbreaker is, and sometimes that's what you need, that's what you're after. Obviously, having a Kingbreaker in here will also come in very handy for the 20% amplified damage to pulsed enemies instead of the 15% that normal flatline comes with. So overall, this is another build that you can run with. So pretty much I saw you 3 builds, not 2 after all. But the one is the Spotter one, the very common. The other one is the Unbreakable one, again very commonly used by players in the Darkzone, and then the Heartbreaker. Those are the 3 builds that I run mostly. I found the Heartbreaker to be more fitting with my playstyle, what I'm looking for, but depending on the situation and depending on your playstyle, each one of those builds has its strong points and its weak points. So yeah, that's it pretty much, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you found it helpful. If you did, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content. I really appreciate all of the support you guys have been showing the last couple of months. Also, I recently started a Discord community server where you can come and join. The server is still very small. It started just a couple of days ago, so new members are needed in order to start events like legendary runs or raids and things like that. So if you feel like that's something you're interested in, the link is going to be down below in the description for you. Feel free to join. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye.